Ever since the ZV-1 came out, I wanted to get a cage for it specifically for one reason: to have a better grip on it. I bought this cage on Amazon and it got me thinking. After some internal dialogue, I thought to myself, hey, why don't I attach a handle to it? I was like, now we're talking. And then it occurred to me, what if I threw an external battery on it? I said, now I can shoot way longer without having to change out the battery. Things were going good to better, quick, and I was excited because I knew the added weight would give me smoother footage. The external power source was going to help me shoot longer without having to change out the battery, and the handle was going to help me get some of those lower angle shots. But then I thought, how will I be able to see the display on those low angle shots? An external monitor. Wow, this rig is really starting to turn into a powerhouse with an external monitor, a handle, and an external power source. But then I wondered, what if I'm in a low light setting or doing a run and gun documentary style type of video at night? I'm not gonna wanna lug around a light or someone to hold it for me. I said, maybe I could attach that little aperture light I bought and never used. All right, this rig was set and ready to use, but there was still one thing missing. I thought to myself, could I fit a shotgun mic on here? Boom. I was able to attach this shotgun mic, but I had to use a ball head to make clearance for the handle. But it's okay, because now I can make sure that I'm always pointed at my audio source. Audio check, 1, 2, 3. And there's no good rig without a good way to set it down, so I found an old tripod from an old gimbal, and I'm gonna attach it to the power source at the bottom of the rig. And that's how, ladies and gentlemen, the ZV-1 rig was born. So when I first built this thing, I was doing it kind of as a joke, as a parody, because the rig is so much bigger than the ZV-1, and I just thought it would be funny to make a video about it. But after using it, I have to say, I'm very impressed with how stabilized my footage is. My footage is always nice and level with the horizon. I honestly don't know if I'll ever go back to just the ZV-1 without the cage on it. I'll always have an external battery on it. Maybe I'll throw the audio on it. I don't really need the monitor, and I really don't need the light, but I mean, why not have it on there? It's super light, and it's a lot easier to get shots this way than to put it on a gimbal and then have to switch out the battery every hour. Now, there's a time and a place for a gimbal, like when you want to get some of those super smooth B-roll shots, but for what I was doing with it, it made it super easy, and I didn't have to worry about it tilting in a direction that I didn't want to. I was in complete control. So I made a list of some of the pros that I find and some of the cons that I find with this particular rig. You can set your rig up however you want. I just added everything that I could find and I just threw it at this rig to make it as big as possible. But with this particular setup, I'm gonna tell you the pros and the cons to having this type of rig. Now my footage with the ZV-1 is super stabilized because I have two hands on it. It's so much better than just having the ZV-1 trying to hold it with two hands and not really being attentive to the horizon. But this thing kind of just locks in place and it just kind of flies right through the air. So that's really nice. One of the biggest things that I've appreciated with this rig is the external battery, because now I can just shoot for like 4 or 5 hours without having to change out the battery. My brain has been programmed to constantly be looking at the battery level on the ZV-1, but now that I have the external battery on it, I don't have to worry about it. Every single time that alert went off in my head, I was like, I don't have to worry about it. Putting the light on there was extremely useful. I didn't think I was gonna use it at all, but I found myself in inside settings, and even when the sun was out, I didn't want my ISO to crank way up, so I left the light on and I was able to preserve a lot of that quality in my image. So the light was super nice. My audio is so much better. Yes, the ZV-1 has good audio, but it's not great. But once you put the shotgun mic on, it like changes everything and your audio just goes to the next level. I have to say the monitor, even though it's kind of big and it's kind of bulky on top there, it was really nice to be able to look at that instead of the display. There were a couple times that I caught myself looking at the display on the ZV-1 and then I was like, why am I doing that? There's a monitor on top. And so I was able to like reprogram myself to start looking at the monitor. Now that I've looked at the monitor, I don't want to go back to looking at the small little ZV-1 display. I got this monitor on Amazon for 140 bucks. I actually purchased it for my other gimbal with the A7 III on it, but I figured I would just put it on this rig for now just to see how it looked. And now that I've seen this, I think I'll use this as my B-roll setup, and my A7 III with the gimbal as my A cam. I'll leave all of these accessories in the description so you can have a look for yourself and figure out how you want to set up your rig. You can still remove the battery and the SD card from the camera with this cage on. All you have to do is remove the external battery, so that's super nice. Even when I'm on a gimbal, I have to remove the camera from the gimbal just to get the SD card out, and I even have to remove the 1/4" screw. So having this set up made it like super easy just to swap out SD cards and to be able to switch out batteries if my external battery ran out. So here are some of the cons. The ZV-1 is no longer small enough to just put in my pocket unless you have some of those old school jeans that have the big pockets. Other than that, I don't think you could fit this in your pocket. Another possible con to this setup is it may look silly to people like you and me, but to most people who don't know about this stuff, it looks like a $15,000 rig. Everybody who saw me with it was, oh, nice camera, nice setup, wow, that's expensive. When really the whole setup minus the ZV-1 is probably around 500 bucks. Another con is that you can't just take the camera off and throw it on a gimbal really quick. You actually have to like remove all of the accessories. Now you can leave the camera inside of the cage and then put the cage onto a gimbal. That's light enough. But I don't think that all of this stuff would fit onto a gimbal, so I consider that a con. Another probable con is that you can't really get into those tight spaces like if you were just handheld with the ZV-1. You have to put 2 hands on this thing, and if you're trying to get in tight spaces, it might make it a little difficult. The bottom line is, you guys have got to try something like this out. Just get a cage for it and get a few of the accessories. If I was to pick any one of these accessories, only one of them, to put on this rig, it would be the external battery because it lets you shoot for like 5 hours straight and you don't have to worry about the battery anymore, and it's so nice. So let me know in the comments what are some of the things that you would like for me to test out with this rig, whether it's like a documentary style run and gun video or a low light situation or an interview or just B-roll. Let me know what you guys think, and I would love to do it. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, we would love to have you. We talk about filmmaking and the ZV-1 and oversized rigs and hacks and just pretty much anything that has to do with filmmaking. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Joe with Potter Made, and let's grow as we go. Peace.